If you were reincarnated as a mosasaur in modern times, could you dominate the ocean? Somewhere in the Pacific Ocean, 2026, you are born at this very moment. As a newborn, you are less than a meter long, weighing just a few dozen pounds. Surrounding you is nothing but blue, unfamiliar ocean water. But here is the problem. You breathe with lungs. If you don't rush out of the water within 30 seconds, you will drown right there at the place of your birth. Driven by instinct, you desperately wag your tail upward and break through the surface, taking your first breath of the air of 2026. The taste is wrong. It is too thin. The sunlight is so piercing that it makes you squint, and the seawater is an eerie shade of blue. You cannot recognize anything around you because the world etched into your genes completely vanished 66 million years ago. But you don't have time to think about that. You only know one thing: hunger. Your body, less than a meter long, looks just like a stocky lizard, darting all over the modern coral reefs. You pounce toward a reef heron. You miss. The heron skims across the water and flies away, leaving behind only mocking cries. You chase after a school of silverfish. You lose them. 6 hours pass, and without a single bite, the pain in your stomach grows sharper and sharper, like something tearing you apart from the inside out. For the first time, you realize that extreme hunger is a near-death experience. Right at this moment, you spot a parrotfish about 60 centimeters long, swimming alone by the rocks. This time, you don't impulsively pounce forward. For some reason, instinct holds you back. You slowly submerge directly beneath the fish, take a deep breath, and suddenly sprint upward. The moment your teeth sink into the fish's body, you finally understand for the first time what it means to be alive. A mosasaur's teeth curve inward. The more the prey struggles, the deeper they bite. The parrotfish thrashes for less than 30 seconds before stopping. As the first taste of bloody flavor rushes into your mouth, your entire body trembles. 6 hours after birth, you have learned to kill. This is the first lesson for all apex predators. To live, you must first let something else die. While digesting the parrotfish, you encounter your first bull shark. It is over 2 meters long, covered in scars, with no emotion whatsoever in its black eyes, only a cold emptiness. The shark slowly swims over and nudges you with its snout. You freeze, not daring to move a muscle. This is the first correct decision you have made since you were born. The shark sizes you up for a few seconds, decides you, this strange thing, aren't worth the effort, turns around and swims away. Your heart is beating so fast, it feels like it's going to explode. For the first time, you know, there are things in this sea that can end your existence on the spot. Over the next month, you are like an anxious freshman, constantly making mistakes in the ocean. When you bite a sea turtle, your teeth only leave white scratches on its shell. The turtle pulls its head in and swims off, not even bothering to look back. When confronting a whited reef shark head-on, you get bitten in the flank and flee the scene in excruciating pain. But you are also learning. You notice that fish school together by day and disperse at night, so you poach the isolated ones at night. You notice that sharks rest in rock crevices during the day, meaning rock crevices are danger zones during daytime. You notice that sick and injured fish have a subtle irregularity in their swimming pace. Those are the safest targets. A month later, you begin to specifically pick on the sick, the weak, and the isolated. You have grasped the core survival philosophy of a predator. It's not about being the strongest, but about making sure every strike carries the lowest cost and the highest return. Half a year passes. You have grown to nearly 2.4 meters, weighing close to 400 pounds. The things that once made you tremble now turn and run the moment they see you. You start getting cocky. That day, 5 bottlenose dolphins swim past together. Without hesitation, you charge forward, opening your mouth to bite, but miss by nearly a meter, not even touching the dolphin's skin. The next second, 3 dolphins flank you simultaneously, and one rams you hard from the side. That impact shakes you to your core, rattling your intestines, causing your entire body to spasm with pain. You fight back desperately, yet you could not bite a single one. The dolphins were too agile, leaving you with absolutely no opening. Your only choice was to dive deep into the ocean, fleeing in humiliation for nearly 100 meters before the dolphins gave up the chase. You surface. There was nothing around you, only yourself, with no others of your kind. No one witnessed this disgrace, but 2 weeks later, a lone sick dolphin appeared late at night. Suppressed of all impulse, you slowly approached from directly underneath and bit deep into its abdomen. With almost no resistance, the dolphin stopped struggling. Dolphin meat has an extremely thick layer of blubber, providing several times more calories than fish meat. After finishing your meal, you rested on the seabed, feeling every cell in your body rejuvenating. At that moment, you completely understood the most important rules. Don't provoke the pods. Only kill the isolated, and specifically target the weak. This is the law for the vulnerable, and also the ironclad rule for all true apex predators. At 2 years old, you grew to 5.4 meters, and your weight broke through 1 ton. You discovered a seal gathering ground in the waters of Louisiana. Seals move slowly in the water and have thick fat. Catching one is worth chasing 10 large fish. You turned this seal habitat directly into your private buffet restaurant. Floating 20 meters underwater, you waited for a seal to swim overhead, then suddenly lunged upward, biting it tightly by the neck, and dragged it into the deep water. The whole process took less than 10 seconds. Within half a year, you grew from 5.4 meters to 6.6 meters. Every single pound of flesh was earned with a prey's life. Every centimeter of body length meant that the next prey would find it even harder to escape. That day, right after eating a seal, you surfaced to catch your breath. An unfamiliar, sharp whistling sound suddenly rang out from 45 meters away. 5 orcas lined up in a flanking formation. The largest lead female orca was a full 7.5 meters long, with a notched dorsal fin and a cold gaze. You looked into the eyes of the lead orca and realized that the way she looked at you was exactly the same way you looked at your prey. You froze for a second. In this 1 second, you made the biggest mistake of your life. You did not run away immediately. With a command from the lead orca, all 5 charged at once. 2 rammed you hard from the left and right. You felt the air in your lungs completely knocked out. Another bit your tail and dragged you desperately toward the deep sea, sending sharp pain straight up your spinal cord. Thrashing your head wildly, you bit through the flank of one orca, staining the seawater red with blood. But there were still 4 others on the opposing side, and your physical strength was draining second by second. You finally came to your senses. If you kept fighting, death would be certain. You dove sharply into the deep sea, swimming at full speed with your battered body. You stayed submerged for nearly 3 minutes. When you finally surfaced, you were already over a kilometer away. Your tail fin was torn, and blood was seeping from multiple wounds across your body. But you were alive. At that moment, you understood. In this ocean, there is a kind of power that does not win by brute strength, but relies on intelligence and cooperation. That is an existence you can never defeat alone. By age 4, your ribs had healed, and you reached a length of 10.5 meters, weighing 8 tons. Your territory spanned hundreds of kilometers. Great white sharks went out of their way to avoid you, and smaller sharks that ran too slowly became your lunch directly. Dolphin pods began to actively maintain their distance. You even hunted a humpback whale calf once. During a 30-second window while the mother whale dove for food, you used your teeth to tear open the calf's artery, instantly staining the seawater red. When the mother whale returned, a sweep of her tail sent you flying 6 meters away, cracking your ribs once more. Your world spun, but the calf was dead. You lay on the seabed for a full 12 hours to digest the flesh and bone. The price was heavy, but you won. For a predator, that is all that matters. 10 years later, in 2036, you have grown to 12 meters, weighing 12 tons. Your entire body is covered in scars left behind by orcas, great white sharks, and giant squids. That morning, right after you swallowed a seal, this time, it wasn't just 5 orcas. It was a massive pod of over 20. The lead female was still the one with the notched dorsal fin. She remembered you and brought her entire pod to completely surround you. There was no sizing you up, only pure intent to kill. 2 orcas ran you hard from both sides simultaneously. Your ribs fractured completely. Another bit your tail, dragging you desperately down to the deep sea, refusing to let you surface for air. You charged upward with the last of your strength. Your snout almost touched the surface, yet you were dragged firmly back into the darkness by the orcas. Your lungs began to collapse, and the agonizing pain of suffocation swept through your body. Those eyes that had looked out over the modern ocean for a full decade slowly lost their light. Your 12-meter body stopped struggling and sank slowly toward the ocean floor. The last ruler of the Cretaceous period finished its final journey in the ocean that belonged to you. You had defeated sharks, dolphins, squids, and humpback whales, reaching the second tier of the food chain, and survived for a full 10 years in a completely alien ocean. But for those entire 10 years, you were completely alone. No species of your kind, no mate, and no offspring. You were the strongest lone survivor in evolutionary history, the single mistake left behind by time. Sometimes I wonder, the moment you finally sank into the darkness, did it count as a release? After all, the hardest thing for a departed soul to bear has never been death, but eternal loneliness. 66 million years ago, an asteroid brought an end to your era. 66 million years later, you spent 10 years proving that you could have belonged to any era. It was just that you arrived too late, and that ocean was never truly ready to welcome you. You think the strongest creature of the Cretaceous period was Tyrannosaurus rex. You are wrong. Dead wrong. Completely incorrect. Fundamentally off base. If the 79 million years of the Cretaceous period were condensed into a single day, T-Rex wouldn't even make an appearance until the last 36 minutes. It only ruled for the final 36 minutes. So during the 23 hours and 24 minutes before it appeared, what exactly was going on in the Cretaceous period? What truly ruled this continent was not giant teeth or sharp claws, but a flower. It is this very thing that you can see anywhere, the most ordinary thing possible. Hardly anyone has ever thought that it is actually the most terrifying game changer in Earth's history. Before the Cretaceous period, there were no flowers at all on Earth. There were only conifers and ferns, which were low in energy and hard to digest. It wasn't until the mid-Cretaceous that flowers appeared, fruits appeared, and sugars appeared. The Earth's food chain was completely re-engineered. Plants became more fragrant and sweeter. Nutritional value soared, and insects boomed. Biodiversity exploded, and terrestrial ecology entered an unprecedented golden age. Generations of apex predators took the stage one after another. The ancestors of Carcharodontosaurus, Tyrannus, and others, each more ferocious than the last. Without this flower, there will be no prosperous Cretaceous era. There would be no mammalian ancestors who later survived on fruit, let alone our grains, vegetables, fruits, and the vast fields of flowers today. Tyrannosaurus rex was merely the final ruler of the Cretaceous, while flowers were the true creator that defined the entire era. Today, in our 12th episode of Earth General Knowledge, I will take you to truly understand the Cretaceous period. That was the Earth from 145 million to 66 million years ago. A full 79 million years, 500 times longer than humans have existed on Earth. Scientists gave it a beautiful name, the final golden age of the Mesozoic era. But I prefer to call it by another name, the most brutal, crazy, and suffocating survival arena in Earth's history. Let's talk about the atmosphere there first. The carbon dioxide levels in the Cretaceous period were more than 4 times higher than today. Every breath you took would feel like covering your face with a wet towel and gasping for air desperately inside a sauna, suffocating, scorching, and toxic. Sea levels at that time were 170 meters higher than today. More than half of North America was submerged underwater, and surface temperatures could soar up to 45 degrees Celsius. The moment you stepped out from under the sun, before you even had time to find some shade, the volcanoes would start erupting. Volcanic ash blotted out the sky and sun, causing temperatures to plummet. You would experience scorching heat and drastic temperature swings all in the same day. Yet it was under precisely these extreme conditions that life exploded with unprecedented diversity. This is the most fascinating aspect of nature. The more desperate the situation, the more extraordinary the flowers that bloom. Let's look at the sky first. The Cretaceous sky did not belong to birds. It belonged to pterosaurs, the absolute pinnacle of which was Quetzalcoatlus. With a wingspan reaching 11 meters, it was equivalent to the size of a monoplane fighter jet. When it stood on the ground, its shoulder height was nearly 6 meters, making it taller than a giraffe. What did it feel like when it took flight? Imagine yourself walking in the wild with absolutely no cover, when a shadow longer than a bus suddenly appears in the sky, gliding silently over your head. The prey of Quetzalcoatlus consisted of medium-sized animals larger than humans and small dinosaurs. When it swooped down, it wasn't just hunting. That was harvesting. Now let's look at the land. Many people believe that the absolute peak of dinosaurs was T-Rex, but Cretaceous South America harbored an existence that made T-Rex look petite Argentinosaurus. Measuring 35 meters long and weighing 80 tons, it was equivalent to about a dozen African elephants. It stands as one of the most massive land animals in Earth's history. With each step it took, the vibration of its foot stomping down could travel for several kilometers. Just one of its femurs was taller than a full-grown adult. But don't think that being enormous meant safety. Specially evolved to deal with it was Giganotosaurus. Measuring 13 meters long and weighing 6 tons, its teeth were serrated and continuously replaced throughout its life. They might have moved in packs and might have even dynamic hunted Argentinosaurus. If a pack of Giganotosaurus coordinated an attack on an Argentinosaurus, that wasn't a hunt. That was a war in the truest sense. Now that we've covered South America, let's head back to North America to talk about the existence whose name echoes across the globe, Tyrannosaurus rex. With a body length of 13 meters and a bite force of about 57,000 newtons, what does this number actually mean? With a single bite, it could pierce right through skeleton, shatter bones, and crush the roof of an off-road vehicle. What was even more terrifying than its mouth was its sense of smell. A T-Rex's sense of smell was extremely well developed. It could pinpoint an odor from over a kilometer away, making it sharper than a hound. You might think that because you are hiding in the bushes, it can't see you, but it has already caught your scent. If T-Rex was a catastrophe on land, then the water was hell in the truest sense. During the Cretaceous period, a shallow sea called the Western Interior Seaway cut directly across the entire North American continent. Paleontologists gave this body of water a nickname, Hell's Aquarium. The fiercest creature in this sea was the Mosasaur. The largest reliable specimen reached a body length of around 15 meters, weighing more than 10 tons. Its bite force was incredibly immense, far exceeding that of a modern saltwater crocodile. It possessed binocular vision, allowing it to precisely lock onto prey, even in murky seawater. A great white shark was nothing more than a small snack in front of it. Yet in this very sea, Even a mosasaur itself could be eaten by larger members of its own kind. Then there were the plesiosaurs, with their long necks, small heads, and flattened bodies, flying through the water using 4 massive flippers. One type was called Elasmosaurus, possessing an extremely long neck that made up more than half of its total body length, with a massive number of cervical vertebrae. They weren't reckless pursuers. They would use that bizarrely long neck to mimic seaweed, quietly and slowly approaching schools of fish, before striking like lightning. Interestingly, many paleontology enthusiasts believe that the inspiration for the legend of the Loch Ness Monster in Scotland comes precisely from plesiosaur fossils. They have been extinct for over 60 million years, yet they live on forever in human mythology. Now that we've talked about the ones that terrify you at first glance, let's look at one you would absolutely never expect. The Cretaceous period had a type of herbivorous dinosaur called Parasaurolophus, which grew a long, curved, bony crest on its head. From a distance, it looked like a banana stuck onto its forehead. While this thing looked bizarre, but scientific studies have revealed that the crest was hollow with an extremely complex internal airway structure. It could produce a low-frequency resonant sound. Listen to this sound. Doesn't it sound like a natural horn? Can you imagine it? A herd of Parasaurolophus calling out in unison in the evening forest, that deep, lingering resonance penetrating the trees and vibrating the ground. The Cretaceous world was not silent. It had sound, it had language, and it even had music. 66 million years ago, an asteroid about 10 kilometers in diameter hurtled toward Earth at a speed of roughly 20 kilometers per second. The point of impact was today's Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. The energy released at the moment of impact was equivalent to billions of atomic bombs. Shock waves, ultra-high temperature flames, and mega tsunamis swept across the globe one after another, followed by a prolonged impact winter. Overwhelming dust blotted out the sun, plunging the Earth's surface into darkness and bitter cold for several years. Plants died on a massive scale. Herbivores ran out of food, and carnivores collapsed right along with them. Around 75% of the species on Earth vanished forever in this extinction event. And just like that, the 79 million year Cretaceous period came to an end. The Cretaceous period used 79 million years to teach us the most profound lesson. Those behemoths that once ruled the Earth were ultimately no match for a meteorite falling from the sky. No matter how formidable the body, no matter how sharp the claws and teeth, all are powerless before the turning of eras. What truly rewrites history has never been violence and dominance, but the silent forces capable of reshaping the entire world. It is the ecological revolution brought by a flower. It is the perseverance of tiny life forms enduring the darkness. It is the resilience of life continually restarting amidst destruction. The dinosaurs vanished, but their lineage transformed into birds, still soaring in the sky today. Extinction is never the end, but rather life changing its way to forge ahead. As we look up at the starry sky today and gaze back at ancient times, it is not just to marvel at the giants of the past, but more importantly to understand that true strength is not about a moment of conquest, but about holding on to hope and continuing to grow throughout the endless stretch of time. The greatest power of life has never been about never falling, but about still being able to fly again after the fall. In the next episode, I will take you to the Paleogene period. That is a bizarre new world of prehistoric beasts where birds are taller than humans and snakes can swallow cows. This is Creator Science. Looking forward to our next meeting.